What's going on, everybody? Today we're talking about what's better for you, a lithium or a lead acid battery for your motorcycle. Starting off with the lead acid battery. Lead acid battery has been around since the beginning. It's the first thing that's been able to allow us to start our cars since the crank handle back before there was really anything electrical in the first place. So you could say this thing's been around a while. What's interesting about the lead acid battery is most of the lead acid battery is in fact lead. It's actually lead and nickel plating together in really fine plates all along with electrical charges inside of it, and we'll go further into how the battery actually works in another video. But suffice it to say, the battery is heavy, and actually in the case of this motorcycle battery from my Harley, this battery weighs 15 pounds 4 ounces. This battery, it's not light. But let's talk about why you would or would not want this battery. Well, one interesting thing about lead acid is you can only use between 30 and 50% of a lead acid battery before it actually goes dead, and you can't actually do anything with it anymore. Once more, one interesting thing about this battery is if it happens to go dead, the chemicals inside of it actually turn into water, which means it's freezable, which means if the battery dies in the wintertime, which they often do, you'll crack the battery and the whole thing just no longer usable. So the battery itself does in fact have quite a bit of issues. However, one thing that really makes this thing stand out well is as long as this thing is charged up, it handles the weather extraordinarily well. It lasts a while. Usually you can get about 3 to 5 years out of these things, but most importantly, they're dirt cheap. They're easy to come by, and the reason they stick around is because they definitely do the job. So those are the pros and cons of the lead acid battery. My advice is if you were to live somewhere super cold, you definitely would want a lead acid battery versus a lithium battery, as lithium does not perform well in the cold at all. But again, just make sure to keep the thing charged up, or else you'll end up with issues. Looking at this lithium battery, now there are many different kinds of lithium batteries, just like there are many different kinds of lead acid batteries, but again, we'll get into that and do a different video. What's interesting about lithium is that lithium is by far much more efficient than the old lead acid batteries could ever be. What's interesting about these is there's actually electronics inside the battery itself that protect it from over and undercharging. Plus, you can tell how much power is actually in the battery just by a convenient button on the battery. Once more, this thing is a featherweight. If you look at the scales, this thing only weighs 3 pounds 2 ounces. That is ridiculous. That is insanely different than the battery, the lead battery. It's a wonder that they're not found in more motorcycles and exotic cars, things like that, just because the weight alone is enough to make a significant difference in performance in your vehicles. What's interesting about the lithium batteries is they do last a lot longer than the lead acid batteries do. You tend to get 5 to 7 years out of them. Moreover, instead of running 30 to 50% of the battery out before they go dead, you can tend to run between 50 and 80% of the battery, and on top of that, you can perform many more duty cycles out of the battery before it goes bad forever. Another interesting part about a lithium battery is because of the way they are built, while you do need a special charger in order to actually charge the thing up in the event that the battery goes dead, they do allow a higher amperage rate to go through them. So if you happen to have a sound system, they work better for that. If you happen to have many more tech intensive items, they definitely handle a lot more power. The they're smaller packaged. They hold so much more battery in the small package. So if you happen to be storing a bunch of batteries, like in an RV's example, a lithium battery could be the way to go in order to prevent packing 4 giant batteries with you just to power everything up. Lithium definitely has some extreme advantages. The biggest disadvantage is, of course, cost is outrageous on a lithium battery. This little guy from my Harley, for example, was like $250 versus a lead acid battery would have been about $100. But prices are going down, and once more, when it comes down to it, the batteries themselves, while we can't recycle most of the battery yet, I believe it's like 30% of the battery is actually recyclable. We're looking into new ways to recycle them, and more of them should be capable of becoming recycled as we go along. So hopefully things like that should drive the price down. But for now, the price is definitely a limiting factor. So keep that in mind if you're deciding between a lithium and a lead acid battery. Well, there you have it. It's a couple interesting things between lithium and lead acid batteries. What's going to be the best battery? It depends on what you're looking for. I'm hoping, in my case, that the lithium battery is going to do exactly what I need it to do, but we'll see what happens. In the meantime, I'm sure I'll keep you guys updated on how switching to a lithium battery goes. But I'll catch you guys next week on another video. We'll be talking about the history of batteries and how they work, things like that. If you're more curious about batteries than most people are, these next 2 videos, the first one should be the lead acid battery, the second one should be lithium batteries, and you will learn more about batteries than you ever actually wanted to know, because I like to know these sort of things. So I'll catch you guys next week. You guys have a good day.